Hi! Happy Wednesday! I hope you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful week. Has anything exciting happened? Are you proud of anything so far? Struggling with anything so far? We have a ton of new members in the group, and I am so excited. So if you're new and you're watching this, if you're participating live, just comment in the comment box because I love to have interaction and engagement. It really makes it feel more like a conversation instead of me just talking on and on. But also, if you're watching this as the replay, same thing. Comment your questions, comment your thoughts, because I always go back in and respond to them anyway. So, all that being said, if you're new, welcome. If you've been here a while, I appreciate you, and I hope that you're finding this helpful. So, every Wednesday, or pretty much every Wednesday, I come on live to talk about the discussion question that we had on Tuesday. So this week's discussion question asked, which meal do you struggle with the most in getting enough protein in? Because I find that, if you have your routine down, then it can make it easier. But oftentimes we kind of have those same go-to meals that we, kind of go to. And then if we're taking a look kind of from the outside or objectively, like what I do with my clients in terms of looking at the meals and seeing how we can make it more balanced, usually there's a specific meal that struggles a little bit more than others to actually meet that protein goal. So first of all, before we get into that, I really just want to kind of just talk really quickly about protein and why it's so important, because whether you exercise a lot or you're trying to lose some weight, or if you're really just trying to have more energy and feel better throughout the day, protein is actually so important because, number one, protein is the most satisfying macronutrient, which means you want to have it with each meal so that you actually feel satisfied from that meal and can make it through to that next meal without feeling like you're gonna die. Because if you get so hungry, past the point of so hungry, that's where the danger zone is, because that's where we're more likely to release our inhibitions and say, screw it, I'm just gonna eat whatever, and then just kind of throw everything in our mouth because we're so hungry, we're just like kind of a blurry vision about it or brain fogged about it. So that being said, protein is most satisfying, but protein we also need because it helps stabilize your blood sugars. And so basically, if you eat carbohydrates by themselves, which there's nothing wrong with carbohydrates are our primary energy source, which we need. But if we only eat carbohydrates by themselves, then your blood sugar will go up and pretty soon drop right back down. So what that means is you're going to have a crash. So maybe you get an energy boost and then you crash a little bit later, like an hour later. And so then you're hungry again, or you are feeling low energy again. So it hasn't actually helped stabilize your blood sugar. So if you're having carbohydrates, we want to pair them with some protein so that your blood sugar actually goes up more slowly and stays stable for longer and then goes down more slowly. So that's the magic of protein. You want to pair your protein with your carbs if you're having carbs like at a snack or something like that, okay? So protein is satisfying, protein stabilizes blood sugars, and we need protein for all tissue in our body. So when we think of protein, we pretty much just associate it with muscle, right? Which is 100% accurate. We need protein not only to build muscle, we need protein to maintain muscle. So especially if you're kind of losing weight, we want to hang on to the muscle for dear life. We want the weight that you're losing to be coming from fat and not muscle. Can we pretty much all agree on that? Doesn't really matter if the scale drops down magically if you still have the same amount of fat but just less muscle. So we need to make sure you're getting enough protein to maintain that muscle. Or if you're trying to build muscle, we need to make sure you're getting enough protein to rebuild that damage that you're doing in the gym when you're lifting weights to build muscle. Okay, so yes, protein is vital for muscle, but it's also vital for all other tissues. So that means your skin, your hair, your nails, if you have a cut, in order to, heal that. So protein is super important, which is why we need to make sure you're getting enough and that it's spread evenly throughout the day. Because let's say your protein goal is 150 grams, let's just say. If you eat it all at one time, number one, that's going to be pretty hard to do. But number two, it's not going to actually promote muscle protein synthesis optimally, because muscle protein synthesis is the process that is, rebuilding and repairing your muscle tissue. But this process only lasts about 3 to 4 hours. So even if you have a huge amount of protein, it's still going to dwindle down after 3 to 4 hours. So instead of having it all at once, we want to have that protein spread evenly throughout the day to make sure you do muscle protein synthesis pretty much all day long. And also to help stabilize your blood sugars, because that, kind of 3 to 4 hours is when that blood sugar starts to go down. So we want to have another meal or snack to bring it back up and stabilize it. Okay. So now we're all clear on protein. Before I move on, does anybody have any questions about protein? And if you do, put it in the chat box. I'll answer it. Okay. So now that we've cleared up why protein is so important, let's talk about what to actually do to increase it specifically at those meal times that you struggle with. So I have the original post pulled up here on my laptop, and we're going to just go through the comments and see where you're struggling most with increasing your protein intake. And then I'll just give a couple comments, and then we'll go ahead and talk through some of my other suggestions at the end as well. Okay. So number one, Lisa says salad. So yeah, salad's great. You get lots of veggies on there, but in order to make that a satisfying salad, of course, we need to make sure it has protein on there. So, of course, like putting some grilled chicken or something like that is pretty much a really good go-to, but it doesn't, because it's not always the most convenient, right? So I think canned tuna is a really good source of protein that can be put on salad. You can do other stuff with it. But if I know that if I don't have any protein prepped up or cooked or ready to go and I need to make lunch for the next day, you're sure as heck know that I'm making a salad and I'm throwing a can of tuna on it, because I always have canned tuna in my refrigerator. So something else you can put onto salads are going to be hard-boiled egg, right? That's a good option. But also you can sprinkle some nuts or some seeds on there. Oh yeah, Brenda. Yep, see, she says tuna packets in the bag. Perfect. So yeah, canned tuna is awesome, but you can also put it in, you can get the ones in the pouch. My biggest recommendation about the pouches of tuna is to get the unflavored ones, because there are lots of different flavors, like the jalapeno ones, I don't even know. They have a lot. But we have to be careful because those are so high in sodium. So if you can get away with doing just the regular plain ones and then add whatever seasonings you want to yourself, that's my recommendation there. So along with the salads, yeah, canned chicken, that's a really good option. I have to say, I don't know if I've ever had canned chicken, but I know that it's a really good resource, especially if you don't want to just cook up chicken all the time. Also, you could put a dollop of cottage cheese. My mom used to do this all the time, put a dollop of cottage cheese on top of the salad. So cottage cheese, if you're getting low fat or non-fat, just like Greek yogurt, is a really great source of protein. With cottage cheese, same thing. We kind of have to be careful because cottage cheese is actually so high in sodium. So I would say try to limit it to, like a serving a day, or if you're having to be aware of your sodium, just keep that in mind. Now we've got 2 people who said lunch is the biggest struggle. And there we go. We talked about some salad ideas, but also think about how you can make like a little bento box. Those bento boxes where it's just basically a snack pack where you have lots of different things that you put together, and you can put, like a hard-boiled egg with some cherry tomatoes and some carrot sticks and some almonds. And it's kind of like you've got these multiple little snacks that you kind of put together into a meal. So different bento boxes could be an option that you could try. And here's the thing. I know it's not probably the answer we want to hear, but planning ahead and prepping some food goes so far in terms of setting you up for success. So that might look like, oh, the chicken breasts are on sale. Well, I'm gonna throw them in the crock pot, cook these up, have them in the refrigerator, this container of cooked up chicken in the refrigerator ready to go for me to add to whatever meals I need to make sure that I have the protein. So crock pot chicken is a good option that I like to do. Also cooking up just a pound of ground chicken or ground turkey, because you can get it very nice and lean. You can just cook it up. You can make it pretty standard in terms of seasonings. I like to do garlic powder, onion powder, pepper, and kind of leave it at that, because then you can put it in more like Mexican flavor dishes, or making like a taco salad with it. Or you can also go more Italian flavor with it and put it with like marinara sauce and spaghetti squash and different things like that. So ground turkey is a really good option to prep as well. But here's the other way that you can do prep is just think of it as like cooking once and eating multiple times. So for me, what that looks like a lot is knowing what I'm going to be making for dinner. A lot of times it's a sheet pan meal where I have the protein on one side and a bunch of veggies on the other side, and maybe some sweet potatoes or something like that on another side of it. Making one meal, whatever it is that you're planning to make for dinner, let's say, but with the intention of making more than you need, so that you at least have lunch the next day, but you might have lunch for the next 2 days, right? Because that could be a really good way to utilize cooking once and eating multiple times if meal prepping is not something that you really like, okay? So Brenda put a picture of a V8 protein drink. I actually have never seen these. I'm gonna have to look at the grocery store to see what that nutrition facts look like. But hey, I mean, if it has low or no added sugar and it's high protein, then that's awesome. So that kind of goes along with adding some protein shakes to your day. Of course, we want to be getting the majority of your protein through whole, real food sources as much as possible, just to minimize how much processed food we're having. But I will say, I have a protein shake every day because it's a really easy way to make sure that I boost up my protein, kind of after my workout. And I'm not saying you have to always have it exactly after your workout. Having a protein shake kind of in the evening time as a substitution for a dessert, because I have a major sweet tooth. So making like a protein milkshake kind of thing can help boost up my protein, but also satisfy that sweet tooth. So whether it's a protein powder, or if it's a ready to drink protein drink, something like this V8, or I know Premier Protein's really popular. There's so many different, protein shakes out there. My biggest recommendation though, when you are shopping for protein shakes or protein powder, is to follow the 10-to-1 rule. Actually, this applies to any protein source, to be honest. So the 10-to-1 rule is the ratio of calories to protein, and you want to stay under that. So basically, you don't want your calories to be more than 10 times the number of grams in the protein. So for example, what is something I can think of right now? The protein powder that I use, the Thorne Whey Isolate Protein Powder, which if you don't already know, you can get 20% off the Thorne supplement products. I have a link in the description of this group. So if you're looking to have the highest level of the tested supplements, that's the brand that I recommend and use, because it does have that third-party testing. Anyway, and you get 20% off. Anyway, so let's use that Thorne Whey Isolate example. So I believe it has 100 calories, and we'll call it 25 grams of protein. So to check for this 10-to-1 ratio rule, you'll take the grams of protein, 25, and then stick a 0 at the end of it, 250, and make sure that the calories are less than that. it's 100 calories. It's less than that, you're fine. You're good to go. So you want to do that when you're looking for your protein drinks. So similarly, when you're shopping for protein sources like ground turkey or, different like salmon or, different things like that, check on the nutrition facts label that it follows the 10-to-1 ratio rule, because that tells you that you're choosing a leaner option. Because if you're going for like an 85-15% ground meat, then those calories are going to be higher, but the protein's not going to be higher. So then if you look compared to like a 93.7% ground meat, you'll see that the protein is high and the calories are still going to fall within that 10-to-1 ratio rule. So this is a good thing to look at when you're like looking for like sausage. That kind of never falls within that rule, but if you are looking, just kind of look at that. It's really eye-opening, so definitely check that out. So, all right, Samantha says dinner. Oh, and Marie says dinner as well. So dinner, kind of similarly to lunch, right? You can get a lot done in terms of setting yourself up for success by doing a bit of that planning and prepping. And whether that looks like a big meal prep on, National Meal Prep Days, which is Sundays, doesn't have to be. You can do it any day that works best in your schedule, and you don't have to do 12 meals in their perfect little containers. You can seriously do whatever is going to help you at least move that bottom line a little bit further. So what that might look like is, like I was saying before, making a couple different dishes, even maybe just making a protein source, whether it's chicken or ground turkey or fish or lean beef of some sort, different things like that that you can then either combine with a big pan of roasted veggies, or your veggies are already chopped up and you can just throw it all together in a salad, different things like that. So prepping your veggies is also a really big time saver, and it makes it the path of least resistance to actually follow through and eat those veggies, right? Because what happens, maybe you have really good intentions, going to the grocery store, buying lots of different veggies, and then they go in that bottom drawer and they die. And they go bad before you even get to use them. So what I recommend doing is when you get home from the grocery store, as soon as you buy them, wash and chop and prep those veggies, put them in a different container so that you can either, boom, have them as a snack, add them to a meal, cook them up really quick, snack on them raw, add them to a salad, add them to your eggs. So many different ways to then utilize this, and it cuts down so much on the time that it takes to actually wash them and chop them and get them ready to go. So similarly with the lunch, like I was saying, we can do some prep work. We can do the planning the leftovers where you cook once and have dinner again. Or you can also do where you repurpose you repurpose other components. Let's say you made something for dinner. Let's say you made a sheet pan meal for dinner one night, and you still have leftover roasted veggies and a little bit of your protein left, but you don't want to eat it in that same way. You can repurpose it, maybe chop up that protein to put on your salad for lunch and put those roasted veggies in with your egg scramble in the morning, so you get some extra veggies in there too. But you're still utilizing that, that meal that you've already cooked in a way that is still exciting and new for you. Going off of that prepping is that when you do have some time to dedicate, making some extra of your own freezer meals is so beneficial. So whether that means you're putting it, making a big batch of chili or a big casserole or whatever it is, and then portion it out. Maybe it's in Tupperwares, maybe it's in baggies. I literally put my soup and chili in baggies in the freezer. So when it thaws out, it's like a little bit sketchy, but it's saves space. It's fine. So taking a little bit of extra time when you can to make some extra freezer meals, put it in the freezer so that when inevitably a day happens that either you don't feel like cooking, you're rushed on time, you don't have anything in the house, and you still want to make a good choice and not get takeout, then you have good to go options ready there in the freezer for you. And so when we're thinking about dinners and lunches and other meals in general, I encourage you to think about making your balanced plate. So if this is the plate, we want half of that plate to be what we'll call color, basically non-starchy vegetables and fruit. If you're having dinner, mostly it's going to be your veggies, okay? Then a quarter of the plate is going to be your protein source. So there's your chicken, your fish, your shrimp, whatever it is that you're having. And then another quarter of the plate is going to be your starch. So whether that's a starchy vegetable or your whole grain, like quinoa, brown rice, barley, farro, different things like that, or your starchy vegetables like sweet potato, corn, peas, stuff like that. So that's how you kind of want the proportions of your meal to be structured. And then whether that's then all mixed together in a casserole or all mixed together in a stir fry, you at least kind of be aware of those proportions, because that can really help, make sure you're getting enough veggies and you're not overdoing it on the starch, that kind of thing. Okay. So we had lots of ideas. Another one that a lot of people struggle with is breakfast, which I know we kind of skipped right over that. We went from lunch to dinner. But definitely starting the day with some protein with your breakfast is so, so important. But if we think about like most traditional breakfast foods, cereal, pancakes, oatmeal, like those are all so carbohydrate focused, which is fine. You can have those things, but just promise me that you're going to pair some protein with it, because like we were talking about at the beginning, for stabilizing your blood sugars, making sure you feel satisfied. Because it's one thing to eat a whole bunch of pancakes and feel full, but it's another thing for that feeling of fullness to actually satisfy you and satiate you to the next meal, because it has some protein in there. So make sure that you're getting some protein with breakfast, whether that's a protein shake or some eggs or Greek yogurt, different things like that, to make sure that that breakfast is nice and satisfying for you. Okay. Woo! I need a sip of water. So this was fun. I hope you guys found this valuable. If you have any questions watching this back, put them in the comment section. Let me know if you need anything from me. And if you have an idea for a specific live video training that you would like to see next time, drop that in the comment section as well, because I want to deliver what you actually want to learn, right? So you got to tell me what you want to learn. So I hope that this was helpful. And is it okay to have eggs for protein every single day? Yeah, it's always good to have those go-to foods that you can rely on, because although eating a variety of foods and a variety of meals is of course important, not only for different nutrients, but to kind of keep it exciting. But that being said, it's also good to have those dishes and those foods that you like and your body likes as well, can tolerate well, and to kind of have those in your normal rotation. So I definitely have eggs and egg whites every morning. I would recommend not having more than 2 whole eggs each day because of the saturated fat in the egg yolk. Even though, it's fine, you're getting nutrients in there, we just don't want to go overboard and have like 6 whole eggs every single day. So I would say keep to no more than 2 whole eggs each day, and then for additional protein, put more egg whites, because if you remember, the egg white is where the protein is, but the egg yolk is where the fat and the nutrients are. So if you want to boost up the protein, you can add some more egg whites without necessarily doing the whole egg. Great question. All right. So on that note, I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of your evening. Let me know what you'd like me to talk to you about next, and hope you have a great rest of your night. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.